All righty, guys. How you guys doing today? Happy Saturday. Welcome to the workshop of Think Like a Top Producer. We're going to leave the comments section open. If you guys want to drop some comments, that'd be great. Questions I can address. This is a webinar format. So it's unlike being on Zoom, something like that. So I'm not going to know you're there unless you mention something in the chat or something for me. So I see a bunch of people have signed up today. A bunch of people showed up. So we're going to get right into it. We have emailed you a worksheet. Think Like a Top Producer worksheet. If you have not got this yet, check your email, check your spam, whatever you got to check, make sure you get this. If you did not receive it for some reason, please reach out to us. Let us know. We're going to go through about 7 different things of thinking like a top producer. And these areas, I'm not going to be able to hit all 7 of them, I don't think. There's so much material to cover during this session, but we're going to get right into it. And what I'm not going to do is try to convince you to do what I do, but I'm just going to tell you out of conviction what I do. So hopefully this resonates with you. I think you showed up today because you want to not only think like a top producer, but you want to be a top producer, right? In order to be a top producer, you have to think like one. If you don't think like a top producer, you never will be a top producer, right? There's so many people out there thinking, you know, whatever area they're in, whether senior placement or another business, they just want to be the best of the best, right? And it's just, you know, rhetoric. It's just words. It's just something that you just say to yourself all the time, or maybe you probably say it to a lot of other people. And we're going to learn today to be careful of who we share our dream to, because if you share your dream, your ambitions to the wrong people, you might not get the feedback that you want, right? So we're going to get into Think Like a Top Producer today. I got a lot of banners. We got a lot of slides. The worksheet I'll show you in just a few minutes on the screen, but you hopefully received that in your email box, and please check that. If you do have it in front of you, I want you to go ahead and start filling some of this stuff out even during the workshop. I want this to be a workshop, not just a lecture, not just instruction in hopes that you're going to do something, but the purpose of the workshop is so you would take seriously about some of these things so you can be a top producer. And I know we're all talking about senior placement on this workshop, so that's what we're going to evolve around, right? So get into that. So first and foremost, you've heard me say this one thing coming up on the screen in a second, multiple times over, and I just want you to get it, and then we'll get into some other things. But it literally is all about mindset, skill set, tool set. And to be a top producer as a senior placement agent, too many people focus on the middle one and primarily the last one. So to get into skill set, and they're like, okay, I've got to learn this business, and then they don't fully engage with the process. We do have some people that bought the Senior Placement Institute and or Senior Referral Academy back in the day, and they kind of just skimmed over something, right? They kind of just watched the videos at leisure, like you're watching Netflix or something like that, hoping to gain some skill set. And then they go, man, I need some tools. Okay, what does my website look like? What does my business cards look like? I mean, what do I get a CRM? And if so, which one? And they try to fast forward past the mindset. And you can't do that. And the reason you can't do that is thinking plants seeds. Your vision waters them, action grows, in reality comes the harvest, right? So you got to think, if we realize fully, including myself, because I fall in this area sometimes too. We're all imperfect. No one is, you know, batting 1,000 in this area. But if we could all work on this area in our lives, we'd be much better off. And that is if we ever would come to the full realization when we ever have a negative thought and we embrace that negative thought and fully realize what that negative thought did, we would never have a negative thought again. That thought that you're doing is planting a seed. So what happens is when you think consistently about something, whether it be positive or negative, it's true on both sides of the game here, you start to develop and build a mental picture, your vision, right? So when you start something and then the negative language comes out, the negative actions comes out, you're around the wrong people and getting some negative feedback, what does that typically do? Have you ever experienced that? I'm sure you have. It has squashed your vision like no other. So we've got to be careful. If we're going to be a top producer, we have got to have positive language, positive words, positive thoughts. That's where it all begins with, right? So if you catch yourself with a negative thought, you're going to learn today, hopefully, and through your exercise with it. If you're just coming on right now, I know some people just popped on again. Look in your email box for this worksheet, and I want you to be able to utilize this to help you grow, right? Because here's a saying, right? Where your thoughts go, your energy flows. You subconsciously start acting toward what you envision. So that is true. So if you have positive thoughts or thoughts that are engaging about what you want to do, and you're highly intentional and focused on that, your energy is going to flow in that area. And why is that important? Because every top producer is single-minded, single-focused on what they want to do. They don't oftentimes get distracted by Facebook and YouTube and all these different things. You know, I'm watching the NFL draft and things like that. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. But if that would consume me, and that's all I was doing for the last 3 days was watching the NFL draft, then that would be bad on my end, because all my energy would be flowing in a direction that's only going to benefit necessarily someone else. How about your own destination? How about your own dreams? And so you want the energy to flow back onto you. So where your thoughts go, your energy flows. Just keep that in mind. Now, cool thing about this. Thoughts become things. Beliefs are decisions, and we'll dive more into the beliefs are decisions a little bit later. And I'm going to show you a matrix that I did not develop this, but I got this from someone. I believe it was David Mayer. And I'll go over that with you as we get going on this workshop. But thoughts do become things. Beliefs are decisions. So have you ever thought about something and it came to fruition? Everything that is established today began with a thought. You know, I think of like TSL, for instance. You know, some of you may have heard of that, may not have heard of it. That was just a thought about 6, 7, 8 months ago. Random thoughts of seeds of what could be and all that, and then it materialized. I had a thought a long time ago that I did not materialize. I was in a juror in Virginia, and this lady T-boned an emergency vehicle late at night, raining, all that. Went there, got selected as a juror. We heard 1 day of arguments, and it got thrown out the next day. But what it boiled down to is this lady did not recognize the emergency vehicle going across and going through the red light. I thought back in the mid-90s, 95, 96, in that range, wouldn't it be cool for every emergency vehicle to have a button or something they press within their vehicle 500 to 1,000 feet away from the intersection, and all the lights just blink? That was a thought. Did I act on that thought? No, I did not. I moved to California 2001. Around that era, 2001, 2002, I was reading the paper, which I haven't done in like 20 years, but back then I was reading the paper. So I read the paper and come to find out that somebody had created this device that was going to do the exact same thing I was thinking about in the mid-90s. So thoughts do become things, and that's where it begins with. So if you're going to be a top producer in whatever it is you do, primarily, i.e. a senior placement agent, you've got to understand that your thoughts are so key. Day-to-day operations. There's too many people that are focused on the negative, right? They go, oh my gosh, I can't get leads. Oh my goodness, everybody that comes to me is a low-income deal. Everybody, I just cannot seem to break through. And the social workers only like one senior placement agent, and that's it. That is a thought that you are capturing, you're holding dear to your heart, and you need to let go of that, right? And here's the truth of it. Both prosperity and poverty are the offspring of thought. I actually have that saying, that statement on my marker board, which you can't see on the screen right now over there. But if you have seen me live here and there, maybe with Brittany on Wednesdays and doing certain things, you might be able to zoom in and see that thought. I have that on my board. I've probably had it there for 3 or 4 months now. But that is absolutely true. Both prosperity and poverty are the offspring of thought. So if you are thinking not just in a positive way, but thinking toward your business and what you want to accomplish, and you're staying highly intentional and focused about that, that's going to lead to prosperity. I know that to be true because 10 years ago, I was broke. Now I'm not. And what happens is your thought patterns, right? My thought patterns back in the day was leading to poverty, paycheck to paycheck. You can instantly change this. Now, that's a bold statement, right? You can instantly change this. Right, Matt. I heard people years ago say that exact same thing. Or like in 3 days, you can break through the financial barrier. 3 days, you can be a top producer. 3 days, you can do all this stuff. And when I heard that, that thought went through one ear and out the other. If you allow it to get into your subconscious mind, which we're going to talk about in just a moment, if you allow that seed to be planted and get into your subconscious mind and not just your intellect, your conscious mind, it will start to develop fruit in things that are positive for you to be a top producer. And again, we're going to go through 5 things today, or I think it's 7, if we can get through them. If not, you have to refer to the sheet, but I'm going to do my best to go through some of these things. But when you do talk about your conscious mind, which we just mentioned, that is the part of your mind that you're thinking. You're choosing something. You are reasoning. Anytime you think something is going to be good for you and you go, well, should I do it or not do it? That's your conscious mind. We all have that. It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. I mean, I'm kind of presenting like maybe it's a bad thing, but it's a good thing. It protects us, right, from making irrational decisions. But your conscious mind, you're just constantly thinking. And so what you got to do is you've got to live within your subconscious mind. You got to develop it like a muscle. That is where your beliefs and your emotions and your habits, that's where they are. That's where they're formed, man. We're going to learn today that beliefs are actually our decisions. That's really what they are. So in your subconscious mind, beliefs, emotions, and habits, what does this really mean? Let me give you some practical example of what this means. When I first started my business, and my only goal, if you watch an old YouTube video, was to make $5,000 a month. That was it. That was my goal. Now I do that and a lot more, right? Obviously, but that was my only goal. But I wanted to do certain things. I wanted my business to grow. I wanted to learn. I wanted to live a certain lifestyle. I wanted to go places and, maybe rent the penthouse and get the nice car and do certain things. Now, that's not everybody's dream. I get it. But that's part of who I am, what I like. I like nice things. I'm married to a beautiful woman who loves nice things as well. She would live with me if we lived in a 1-bedroom apartment. I know, because that's how she met me. That's how I know that. Not because she tells me, because she met me in a 1-bedroom apartment, living paycheck to paycheck. So I know she'd be very content if that's all we had. But the emotion thing, this is what you can do to trick your mind. If you want to accomplish anything, let's say that you want to start every time you and your wife go out of town, or you and someone else, or by yourself, you want to be in the best possible hotel around. I mean, it costs a lot. And you're like, well, I can't afford that. So what you do is you trick your mind by saving up. And I got this information from Ed Mylett years ago. So this is not Matt Stafford, but this is Ed Mylett, who actually influenced my life in doing this. Save up for it. Maybe it took me 3 months to save up for it. And when you go to that nice place, you're tricking your mind that you belong there. Now, how does that coincide with a top producer? Well, you're tricking your mind. Where does top producers go? They might go to the golf course, right? The golf club. I don't really go. My son is behind the scenes on this thing. He golfs quite a bit. I don't like golfing. I don't like hitting the ball 100 yards, 30 yards if I'm pretty bad, and chasing after. I don't like doing that stuff. But that's where they hang out. So if you're going to think like a top producer, inevitably you want to become a top producer, you've got to trick yourself in being there. Now, you have to look deeper within yourself. Like I like dressing with this is kind of my deal with my hat and my sweatshirt and things like that of my business. And I wear this a lot, not the same sweatshirt, obviously, but different ones with the same name on it. Going to doctor's offices, place like that, and people ask about it. However, if you're going to somewhere that's more eloquent and, people are ritzy and dressing up, this might not be the attire, right? But you got to trick yourself in doing that. And then what happens is then your body comes into actions and results. But let's get back to the conscious mind. The conscious mind chooses thoughts, right? The subconscious mind accepts those thoughts and builds emotions and habits around them. Did you get that? Your conscious mind chooses thoughts. So the thoughts that you have today about you and your business, you've actually chosen those thoughts. They're your thoughts. Now, they might not have originated with you, but you accepted them as your own. You realize every thought that comes to your mind, you don't have to embrace and act upon. My gosh, thank goodness for that, man. How many have had some terrible thoughts, right? Maybe you had a bad relationship and a bad business that you were working for, or just whatever it is, and you had some bad thoughts. Thank God you didn't act on those thoughts, right? But your conscious mind chooses those thoughts, and then your subconscious mind accepts those thoughts. And when you accept them into your subconscious mind, then you start to build emotions, getting feeling. And that's so important to establish momentum in your business to be a top producer is you've got to be emotional about this thing. I'm not talking about crying and just laughing all the time, but I'm talking about just having some passion, right? I'm a firm believer you don't have to start your business with passion, but if you're going to sustain your business over time, you better have some passion in what you're doing or you're just going to fade, right? You've got to have some passion, build some emotion. Have some check and balances with yourself. Are you passionate about what you're doing? Helping seniors. Yeah, man, I'm passionate about it, but I don't have any clients. Well, get passionate about getting clients because you know the end result is helping a senior, not the end result of getting paid, right? Kind of two different things. Top producers don't think about getting money. They think about investing. So how does that apply to senior placement agency? Don't think about the money that you're getting. Think about the lives that you are changing because you are investing in their life, right? So it builds emotions and habits around them. Now, if you've got some limiting beliefs, and I know all of us do, we're going to have to learn how to address these limiting beliefs, right? I told you before a few minutes ago, I believe it was David Mayer, so I'll give him credit. But this is kind of like focusing on, it's kind of like a decision matrix, right? And this is my own personal one that I've got, right? And so what you do is you got 3 columns. And one column is you write out the limiting belief. And then the middle column, you put in the actual empowering belief. And then the third column that you write out is you write out some sort of proof that you have that validates the empowering belief, right? So let me give you an example. Like a limiting belief it could be, and I got one written right here. It says, I doubt people will pay that much. Whatever it is, right? So you might be a senior placement agent going, I doubt people are willing to spend $5,000 a month on assisted living. Or if you're in an affluent area, you might say, I doubt people are willing to spend $8,000 a month for assisted living, right? You start rationalizing your thoughts, right? But then the empowering belief is, I put down, people always pay me more than what's expected. Or in the case of senior placement agent, you go, people always pay for assisted living more than what's expected, right? It's an empowering belief because in essence, both are true. The limiting belief is true because there are people that wouldn't pay that much. The empowering belief is also true because there are people that will pay that much, that can afford that, want the desire for their mom or dad to be well taken care of. And they've planned for it with long-term care, or they planned for it with insurance, plan for it with savings or to sell their house or whatever it may be. But now you've got the option. Are you going to focus in on the limiting belief that nobody's paying, or are you going to focus in on the empowering belief that everybody pays, right? So both are true. So if you focus on the empowering belief, now focus on the negative belief and limiting belief, it doesn't really matter. You're just kind of dead in the water as it is. But if you want the empowering belief to be true, then you have to put something over here to give your mind something that it can hold on to, that it actually happened. Like I've had people pay $9,750 for assisted living. So for me to say in my area, the average is $5,000 for an average move-in, and my area might be more like $4,600. Let's call it 5. But I've had somebody pay $9,750. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt people pay that money. So then I would put down here, I've had a lot of generous people cross my path that have paid for assisted living north of $8,000. You know, so you start doing that. So that is the kind of, he calls it the decision matrix, right? But here are 3 steps, right? 3 ways you can overcome a limiting belief. Number 1, you've got to call it out. You've got to name the lie, right? So I would encourage you to write it over here, right? Name the lie. whatever the lie is. And how you do it, and this is you personally, more so than just your business, because ultimately your business is going to be successful as you are. As the most successful thoughts and energy that you produce, your business will be a byproduct of that. If you don't empower yourself, however you choose to do that. As a Christian, I pray. As a Christian, I read my Bible. You may not be. You might find other means. But if you don't have personal development where you are actually growing, you are not going to be successful in your business. You're just not. Your business will plateau. You might be able to be good at something because you got a skill set. But if you don't have the right mindset, like we said earlier, mindset, skill set, tool set, if you don't have the right mindset, your skill set, you will have those people tend to go, hey, I've been doing, I got 20 years experience doing this one particular thing. And they think they have 20 years of experience only because it's through repetition, right? They've done something for 20 years. However, they've only repeated the same act 20 times every year. So I had to go through, this year I did this, next year I did that. So you got to call it out and name the lie. And what you do is, what I do, I've got it around here somewhere. It's over here. It's a notebook, okay? And you might want to title a page, Lies I'm Telling Myself, and write it out. So you got to call it out. See, a lot of people that don't want to grow, or they just think they want to grow or wish they could grow, they don't really call it out. You got to call a spade, okay? This is lies I'm telling myself. And we tell ourselves lies all day, every day, right? You tell yourself a lie. Maybe you go, hey, I'm going to the gym tomorrow. I'm starting a workout regimen like no other, 5 days a week. And then tomorrow comes, 5 days later, 2 months later, you haven't been to the gym one time. You've been lying to yourself. We lie to ourselves more than anything. We just repeat lies all the time to ourselves. If we realize our limiting beliefs, our negative thoughts, and the lies that we tell ourselves, the damage that is doing to us, we would stop doing that. So you need to, number one, call it out, name the lie. Number two, crush it with truth. Find proof and rewrite it. What I mean by that is find at least 3 pieces of evidence that destroy that limiting belief, right? So what you can do is rewrite every limiting belief as a new empowering belief. Just like I told you about the thing from David Mayer, right? A limiting belief, whatever it may be. Now, there's other limiting beliefs. Let me go over here to this page over here, because there's a whole bunch of them over here. Limiting beliefs could be, I'm not good enough. So you're telling yourself that, a limiting belief, I'm just not good enough in this industry. I'm not good at doing what I'm doing. Others know how to do it better than me. Other people have got a lot more experience. They got a medical background. They got some history as a marketing director somewhere. So they know how to do it better than me. That's a limiting belief. Squash that, right? And you got to squash it with an empowering belief, and then anchor that with something that you've done in the past that you know your mind will go, yeah. I give an example like money, for instance. You go, I'm always broke. I'm always behind on my bills. And then you write down, man, I'll always pay my bills on time. I have a lot of money. And then what you do is you think about a time that maybe it could be as simple as you were, someone gave you money, or you got some overtime and a lot of bills were paid, and maybe you started a business, or, you got a new job or something like that. You anchor it with that, and you focus more on the empowering belief. Another limiting belief, I don't know what I want. That's a tremendous limiting belief. You get down here. Let's see, this shouldn't be happening. There's a lot of, there's countless limiting beliefs. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough resources. And in a senior placement agency in our business, I don't have enough contacts. I don't have enough people that really want, my services and all that. It's a limiting belief. So you got to rewrite the thing. The third one you got to do is condition your mind daily. You've got to reprogram your belief system, right? And how you do that is you can't just think positive once. See, that's the thing where people sometimes they go, well, this doesn't work. This is woohoo. This is out there and doesn't really work. You can't just think positive once. You've got to train your brain like a muscle. When you catch yourself, which we all do, I do it. We all do it. We're all going to think negative at some point. All have a limiting belief at some point. But when you catch yourself, that is the key thing. And then you start to retrain yourself And now it's not a habitual deal where you're constantly being negative all the time. You're catching yourself and doing it. Let me give you an example. My dad loved him to death, and he hasn't done this in probably 3 or 4 years because I stopped him doing it. And I'll tell you what he did. All my life, all I heard was anytime something bad would happen in life, my dad would repeatedly say, well, son, what's your last name? It's almost associating the last name with something bad that's going to happen, right? And so about 3 or 4 years ago, I was telling my dad something, and he's like, well, son, what's your last name? Finally, I went, Dad, our last name is Stafford. It means blessed. It means prosperous. It means victorious. I went on and on and on, and my dad was like, oh, okay. And now after 2 or 3 times of doing that, he doesn't do that anymore, right? So you got to train your brain just like some muscle. And finally in this thing here, and we'll get into some slides, every morning, this will be a challenge for you, okay? And get out those notes, whether you're getting them right now, writing in some things, or you do it later. But make a commitment to yourself. If you're going to grow and think like a top producer, they don't just do it for one day. And they don't just do it for 1 month. But this is a good start. Every morning for the next 30 days, read your list of new beliefs out loud. Read them out loud. I mean, if it's like, okay, I'm bad with money. No, I'm great with money. And you start doing that every day for the next 30 days. Now, I understand that some people say, to establish a habit, it's 21 days. Sometimes it's 30 days. But somewhere that's kind of the sweet spot, right? I'd venture to say if you did this for the next 30 days, you would be amazing at this thing. All right. So that's those. Let's get into the slides. But again, if you want that top producer, it's a whole big thing of the worksheet. This is what it is. We're going to get into number 1, reframe your inner voice in just a moment. But I sent this out. I had Josh send it out for me because I wanted you to be able to go through it. If you're going to go through something for the next 30 days, you're really going to have something that you can kind of lock into. And that's the form that I really want you to make sure that you download. Okay. So think like a top producer. Let's get into it. Reframe your inner voice. Now, look at this chick over here in the mirror. All those words, they're not even real words. But this is what we do to ourselves, right? When we allow ourselves to have negative talk. The words don't really do anything for us. Like those words on that screen there doesn't do anything for you. Can't make out what in the world they mean. And so that's really what a negative thought will do to you and will prevent you from becoming a top producer in whatever it is you want to do. Like you should think as a top producer in the senior placement business, I am going to dominate my area. I am the best senior placement agent any senior would enjoy serving them to enable them to identify the best possible senior living location in this area. All right. I say that because I believe it. Anybody in sports, if you played sports, you understand this, or anything you've done in a competitive level. Anybody that's involved in competition never goes into the game or whatever they're doing, chess match or whatever it is. Oh my gosh, I'm just not real good. I hope I do well today, but I'm not as good as that person. I can't think on my feet as fast as they do. And they got a lot more experience than me. And all this inner thoughts that you have going on, all this inner talk, right? Now, talking to yourself is really cool. You should talk to yourself. And I get that from the Bible. I mean, being a Christian, I get it from the Bible, but David talked to himself, right? You go back in the Old Testament, David's like, bless the Lord, oh my soul, and all that's within me, bless his holy name. He wasn't talking to anybody but himself. So I talk to myself a lot, but you got to be careful how you talk to yourself. Are you talking to yourself in a way that is empowering you, or are you contributing to the limiting beliefs that are just all around you, right? I mean, we live in a negative world. If not, go watch the news. I don't care which side of the aisle you're on. Just go watch the news for a little bit, and it's going to be negative. I mean, you follow the NFL draft. There's a certain thing going on. There was this negative talk for the last 2 or 3 days, and all these different things. But it's not hard to find the negative. Sometimes it's often hard to find the positive, but you got to have the positive within you. So drive your thoughts. Okay, your thoughts drive your business. That's what I was saying there. Your thoughts drive your business, and that's so key because every lead you don't follow up with starts with a belief. Like, how many leads have you received or the connections, been invited to an event, maybe a social worker wanted you to come by and see her, and you just didn't do it? or you just kind of blew it off, right? So every lead you don't follow with starts with that belief. And so if you got limited talk, limited beliefs and this negative talk within you, you're not going to follow up, right? So your inner dialogue is the loudest coach you'll ever have. You got to make sure you are honest with yourself, but you got to make sure you are the cheerleader, man. You're pumped up. The key thing about yourself, when you think about it, you're the only person that you're always going to be around. Like, for instance, me, I can't go anywhere without this ugly mug following me, right? I go outside, it's raining, I'm there. I'm in front of you right now, I'm here, right? So treat yourself with respect and love and being appreciative of who you are. You are who God designed you to be, and you are the best. And I've told you guys multiple times before that that is your superpower. My mic's still on. That is your superpower, is being yourself, right? So you got to rewire your beliefs. Replace I can't, and you'll see this on your worksheet. Replace I can't with empowering affirmations. Speak them daily before every call or tour. I do that before I go on a call with somebody. Man, I'm speaking affirmations. Now, before I even do that, being a Christian, I actually pray. Now, it's not a long drug out prayer. And it's not a prayer that, oh my God, Lord, I pray this goes through so Sally moves to her retirement community and senior home business gets paid. No, I'm putting myself in the other person's shoes. I'm praying specifically for them and praying for guidance. And then I speak to myself with empowering affirmations. So I put myself in the best possible state. Sometimes, now you got to be careful with this. Like, you're getting ready to go on a call with someone, or you're getting ready to make multiple calls. You got to be in a powerful state. So when I came on this call today, when I came on this workshop, I didn't want to come in and be going, oh my gosh, well, it is what it is, No, you got to lift yourself up. So bring value. Remind yourself you bring value, because families feel peace when I guide them. Or you can put anything that you want right there, okay? So let's go to the next one. The next point would be curate your circle. Now, this is going to be a key thing. You're going to have to audit your circle. You are the average, and this is not my exact quote. I think it came from Jim Rohn back in the day, but you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So that means you can either look at my life, or I can look at your life, and I can see the 5 people you primarily hang around, and that's probably your life. Most people that are broke hang out with people that are broke. Most people that are successful in business hang out with people that are successful in business. So if you want to be a top producer, you've got to start thinking like one in order to be one. So how could you position yourself to be in a top producer environment? Audit your circle. You should not be the smartest person in the room. If you are the smartest person in the room, get a new room, right? Doesn't mean you have to be the dumbest one, but man, be somewhere maybe in the middle. That way, I like the middle. I know sometimes people say, well, you should always be the dumbest one in the room, so you learn from everyone else. I think that's from a very selfish standpoint. I like to be somewhere in the middle. If I can kind of pinpoint this, it's because I'm believing of lifting people up. I want to be there to give back to people. I think that's a great principle of living life. To be a top producer, you always want to give, and it's going to be given unto you. Good measure, shaken down, running over, all that stuff. But you want to be below people too, so they can lift you up, so you can learn. But if you're the smartest person in the room, you're never going to learn. And so you're going to have to think of other resources, books and seminars and YouTube videos, I guess, or whatever you want to do. But do that. Audit your circle. Number 2, energy check. Identify if your top business contacts are energizing or draining you. One of the beautiful things about being a senior placement agent, I can pick and choose who I want to work with, right? Some of you guys out there are just kind of in desperation mode. I just got to have a social worker. I got to have a case manager. I got to have somebody. Please be on my team. Think more highly than that. I mean, in the sense that you can have people that you are identifying to be on your team. And it's an energy check. Are these people positive? My wife and I are going out to dinner on Monday with the care home owner and her husband. Very uplifting people. She owns 5 care homes. Super energetic. We feed off each other, all 4 of us, and it's just amazing. But you want to be a people around like that. I don't want to go to dinner with somebody. I mean, unless I'm called to help somebody. I understand there's certain situations, not always high energy and positivity and all that stuff. But ongoingly, especially your business contacts, be people that are going to be uplifting, right? So then limit negativity. Distance yourself from those who doubt your business. That includes family, friends, obviously strangers. And I can tell you at the beginning, when you first start, it's what happened to me. If it's true to you, I think it will be. But when I first started my business, I had people going, oh, Matt, that's great. That's awesome. Looking forward to it. You're going to be great at this. And then I started getting some success in my business. And some of those people got quiet. Some of those people kind of like, oh, yeah, well, that's good. Good for you, man. Good for you. They almost got to the point where they were either jealous or hating on me, one of the two. And then when you get to a place where you're just killing it and you've done it now, if I've done it 7+ years, now it's kind of like, oh my gosh, man, you're doing really good. I appreciate you. They come back to you, but you're going to have that either hater stage or jealousy stage coming from people. But just learn to limit the negativity, because again, those are thoughts that you are embracing, and those are inevitably going to be seeds you're going to be planting. And you don't want those negative seeds to be planting anywhere around you, because I don't want weeds around me, right? No weeds, man. We want roses, beautiful plants, beautiful garden, all that stuff. Add inspiration. Spend time with people who inspire your growth, right? It goes without saying. We kind of just did that. So let's go to the next one. Visualize your success. I have no idea what that person is doing. Maybe it's a form of meditation, but it's just what I think AI developed that one. But these are things you want to do to visualize your success. I got this page right, one page thing right here. Then I got a bunch of things that I read every now and then. It just sits close by me. And what you want to do is you want to have certain things that uplifts you throughout the day. Like I got here, you can probably see it highlighted there in the middle. It says every setback is a setup for a greater comeback. Not my original thought. I don't know who Joel Osteen or whoever, maybe it was an athlete, whoever, but every setback is a setup for a greater comeback. And I love that because, man, it's like, okay, every challenge in my life, that's just setting me up for a greater comeback. That's just setting me up for something great. So, and that's the reason I say that is what you want to do is you want to picture your ideal day. When you first wake up in the morning, if you're not picturing your ideal day, you're probably not going to hit your ideal day. But imagine how you start and you help families, right? So imagine you're like, man, you're a difference maker. So I'm picturing my day as I start today. It's not just waking up, having a cup of coffee. It's not just going about my business and hope something good happens. No, I'm picturing my ideal today because I'm thinking like a top producer. Every top producer, I guarantee it, across the board, they don't wake up with a defeated attitude. They don't wake up casually going about their business. They know exactly what they're going to do, and they do it. Now, I don't think they all do it from a to-do list. I used to do a to-do list. I don't like to-do lists anymore. I set 3 or 4 things that I do that I'm going to accomplish that day and stay focused on those 3 or 4 things and accomplish it. So then picture your ideal day. Number 2 in that, and visualizing your success, be a top producer, feel the emotions, right? Connect with the feelings of completing a placement. So if you haven't even got a placement yet, let's say you just started, you've been doing it for several months, and man, you're struggling to get your first placement. Don't beat yourself up with negative thoughts and negative energy. What you do is you connect with the feelings of what it is to complete a placement. And I can tell you from experience, I've done it 1,000 times over, that when you place a senior somewhere and you've walked the family through the process, it is a beautiful, beautiful feeling. It just is. But so if you haven't experienced that right now, you want to trick your mind into feeling that way, because that will ultimately motivate you to think like a top producer, and inevitably you will become a top producer, right? See the trust, visualize families smiling with relief, thanking you for your help. Man, visualize that, right? I mean, I did that as an athlete back as a teenager, high school quarterback. Nobody taught me this stuff. I just kind of did it. This came natural. I saw myself every Thursday night throwing 3 touchdowns on Friday night football in front of thousands of people who play AAA ball. I don't want those 3 touchdowns. Now, I can only remember that happening like twice. There was games I threw 3 interceptions. But I was thinking about the positive the night before, going into the game with great expectations. So you got to do that with your visualization. You're seeing this play out. This could play part of your morning ritual in what you do in the morning. Some people do it in the evening. I like doing it in the morning only because it sets up your day, right? And so you make it what you want. Then practice daily. Set a specific time for visualization practice. It's not the point of getting into visualization, but it's just part of, you're going to be a top producer. Everybody does it. I mean, I had this one boss. years ago, I used to sell manufactured homes, and we used to sell old and new. But when I first started working there, we sold just the old, right? It'd be 24 by 60, 24 by 48, these mobile homes that were just terrible, man. I don't know where you picked them up at, but I mean, the kitchen was falling apart and the carpet was all ripped up and smelly and all that. And my boss would always tell me, man, insinuate the positive. Just insinuate the positive. And so I get out there and I'm walking around the lot with somebody. It's a dirt lot. Look at these crappy homes. And I'm out there doing that, man. Look at this beautiful home over here. Look at the kitchen. Amazing. I can guarantee you that nobody's listening to the sound of my voice right now would think any of those homes that I saw and sold back then were amazing. But you had to insinuate the positive. And people started to see it. I started kind of paint a picture of what could be when it had new carpet, what could be when it had new cabinets. So you got to do that stuff for your business as well. Okay. Master your emotions. All right. So I won't spend a whole lot of time on this one here, but you've got to be able to recognize the triggers, right, that are setting in that are getting you down. What's causing you to become down? No placements, lack of connections, don't feel like you're good on the phone, you can't get a hold of anybody, but recognize those triggers, right? And how you deal with those. Identify emotions that slow you down. And when you identify these emotions that slow you down, let's say you can't get anybody on the phone. You made 10 phone calls, 7 went to voicemail, 3 just didn't pick up. And you're like, man, nobody picks up the phone when I call. There's a limiting belief. The empowering belief is, just the opposite of that. When I call, I'm calling to help people and they respond and they love the sound of my voice. Well, 10 calls would say no one's listening to you and no one's even hearing your voice. But that's the empowering belief. And now think through a time, maybe it's this business or a different company you used to work for years ago that you went through and you had some pleasant conversations with people. Might even be life-changing. You just kind of inspired them, helped them. It might be a family member or something, but you are recognizing the triggers that are causing you to get down. So then choose responses, direct emotions as tools, not traps, and then reset the techniques. Okay. You can go through breathing tech work, prayer, walking, journaling to reset, anything you want to do, but make sure that you master your emotions. All right. And then here we want to take massive action. I'm going to spend a little bit of time here in talking about massive, consistent action. Some people, and I put consistent in there because some people take massive action for 3 days and nothing happens. Well, this doesn't work. Time to move on. You've got to take massive action and be consistent. I've been consistent what I've been doing since 2018. And I'm here to tell you that over time, this always works. Sometimes in the senior placement business, it works for some right out of the gate. Some it takes a little time to develop. But if you have a long-term approach to this, a long-term viewpoint, and you take massive action and you are consistent each and every day, not succumbing to limiting beliefs, but empowering beliefs and embracing them, thinking like a top producer, I guarantee you, your business will grow. It'll grow beyond your imagination, your wildest dreams. Okay. So identify avoidance, right? Recognize one business action you've been putting off. We all have those things, right? I've talked to people, just talked to somebody the other day, their favorite thing to do, or one of their least favorite things to do is social media. Do that. Maybe your least favorite thing to do is actually make a cold call. Do that. Maybe your least favorite thing to do is actually cold call and walk into a skilled nursing facility to meet a social worker. Do that. Whatever it is, do something you've been avoiding. I'm telling you, it will help you. Now, you might think, your resistance will come up going, no, it's not going to help me because I'm scared to death of a camera. I'm scared to death to pick up a phone and start calling people. I'm scared to death that we just walk in and start talking to people and I'm not sure what to say. I might start to stutter and blank out and not really, just look like a fool. All these different things. Once you do that, you're developing your muscle to make yourself better. So whatever you've been avoiding, whatever it is, just do that. Make that part of what you do. I guarantee you might not like it, but if you've identified as something that's going to help your business, don't put it off. Then take small steps. Take one small action today, even when you're unsure, right? So small step would be, okay, I'm terrible in front of the camera, so I'm just going to hit record. Don't go live. I'm not trying to get you to embarrass yourself. Just hit record. Start talking. Talk for 10 minutes. And then what will happen is after that 10-minute video, you can go back and edit it. And maybe it's a 3 or 4 minute video. Maybe you and maybe you coughed, maybe you sneezed, maybe you just didn't know quite what to say for a quick second. You gathered your thoughts or whatever it may be. But you edit that video and it turns out to be a great video and you put it out there because it's not all about you. It's all about your audience, all about the seniors you're trying to identify. So you put that video out there and somebody sees it. They resonate with that video. They resonate with the content that you do because you're taking that small step. Now they reach out to you. Take massive, consistent action. Small steps. Schedule blocks. Okay, set aside dedicated minutes for focused action daily. Let me give you a pro tip. Whenever I make calls, I got some calls I'm making on Monday for our trip to Sacramento. I guarantee when I go, I schedule a block an hour that I'm going to do, that I'm making calls. And then based on my results is whether I will schedule another hour later. Now, if I accomplish my goal in an hour, uninterrupted time, I'm just focused on making those calls, then I'm good. I can do something else later. But because that's high on my priority list, if I don't accomplish my goal in that hour, then I'm going to schedule another time later on that day, uninterrupted time, to make phone calls to do just that, right? So schedule blocks. You can kind of, batch things. You'll hear top producers talk about batching, right? If they're doing videos, they try to do 3 or 4 videos at a time. I'm not real good at that because I like a lot of the videos I do on the fly. I like a lot of it just being in the moment. I'm more inspired when I'm just either walking around with Josh with me at a skilled nursing facility or community, or we're out somewhere or just at home, but more inspirational type things. I'm not that good, I don't think, at just sitting down and saying, okay, I'm going to batch 4 or 5 videos. So that might not be your strength, but lean into your strengths. Okay. So build momentum, small daily moves. They beat perfect planning every time is what I put there. It's so true. Okay. So for 7+ years, I've been doing this thing, right? So these small daily moves that I've been making, have they all been perfect moves? No, but they've been moves. See, the worst thing you can have in your life, as you're embracing unlimited beliefs, that you want to be a top producer, but all these unlimited beliefs, is inaction. And that's what all these limiting beliefs will do, is they will produce a level of inaction. You're not going to want to, because you're going to be speaking to yourself a lie all the time. You're feeding the negative, all the worst case scenarios. They're going to hang up on me. I'm going to look like a fool. I'm not going to know what to say. All these different things, and you're not going to do anything. You have to be able to take small daily moves, and they beat perfect planning every time, because it's not about being perfect. It's about progress. That's what it's all about. It's about progress. So, because no one's perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. God made none of us perfect. We're all imperfect human beings. But if we have progress, we're going to take those necessary steps that we need to take. Okay. And then we talked a little bit about, obviously, limiting beliefs, but you've got to eliminate limiting beliefs. So what do? The bottom one there, challenge your thoughts. You got to identify why limiting beliefs are not true. Going back to that decision matrix that I can help you out with. You want to reach out to me, you can. Again, don't forget to download the notes and all that stuff and put it in your information. But if you get a negative thought, a limiting belief, challenge it immediately. Don't embrace that thought. It's not your thought. Well, it can be, but it doesn't have to be. So you embrace a positive thought, a more empowering thought about that same scenario, right? And then you start to anchor that with something that you've already done in the past that makes your mind, tricks your mind in doing, well, I've already been there, already done that, and it's been successful. And that way you gravitate toward the empowering belief, right? So then you got to establish a new belief. Now it's the whole part of limiting beliefs, but get your empowering belief. Then you choose what serves you, right? And what serves your growth. What's going to serve your business. You're going to be a top producer. You got to have new beliefs, right? If you're getting out of the gate with negative beliefs, or you're getting out of the gate with, all this negative talk, it's not going to be helpful, right? Past success. Remember achievements that prove your capability. So when you do have wins, which you will have some wins, we all have a bad day. We all have a bad week. We all experience losses. But when you experience wins, reflect on those, right? It will motivate you going forward. Empowering mantra. I am fully equipped to serve families and close with heart, right? That's who I am, right? I have a saying that, we save seniors thousands of dollars on assisted living. That's what we do. And so I want you to have an empowering mantra, whatever it is. I can call it a tagline. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to say it, but it's something short and sweet that when you say this is why you do what you do. And for years now, again, mine's been, I do what? I save seniors thousands of dollars on assisted living. Now you can adopt that same tagline if you want, but you got to back it up with a negotiation strategy and be able to do it and be an advocate for seniors and save them money in order to say that. Because I'm telling you, if you do that and know how to do the latter as far as the strategies, man, it will empower you and you'll get some leads from that as well because people want to save money. Finally, lead with gratitude. Okay, so you want to declare your purpose. I'm blessed to do work that brings hope and peace to families in crisis. Whatever words you want to do, but declare your purpose. I mean, this is who I am, what I do. I mean, I've hooked my wagon to this horse. That's an old saying, right? But I've kind of hooked it. I've hooked everything I've got to this whole dream of helping seniors. Celebrate small wins. Told you about that. Appreciate others. Show appreciation through calls, texts, and reviews. I would encourage you, your people in your network, whether you got 3 people or 30 people, pick 5 people a day. Now, if you only got 3, then maybe you're going to max out at 3. But if you got more than 5, you want to do probably 5 appreciation emails every day. You know, you send the email or not emails, text. Easy text. You got their cell number. Text them how you appreciate them. Hey, thank you so much. Really appreciate all you do. Keep up the good work. Not, hey man, you got any leads for me? Hey, I saw you the other day, but you didn't return my call. I was calling to see if we got some information about a resident. No, just how you just appreciate them. Count blessings, business blessings, right? List 3 things you're grateful for in your business. What are 3 things? Go over that worksheet that we gave you through the email, okay? And I want you to download this and take it to heart and go back to that whole thing of next 30 days. Every morning for the next 30 days, read your list of new beliefs out loud. Defeat these things. If you want to be a top producer, this is where it starts. This is where it begins. And it's not where it ends, but it's where it begins. If you don't do some of the things that I'm encouraging you to do today, the likelihood of you being a top producer is slim and none. It's probably not going to happen. You're going to be defeated. You're going to give up. You're going to start doing something else. And then you're going to start doing something else. I know that to be true because that was my life. When I went through a series of sales jobs with limiting beliefs, and I was in one sales job after another, doing this, and not really following my purpose, right? So I want to encourage you guys today, do these 7 things. Download the worksheet. Fill it out. And then every morning, make a commitment to yourself to read the list of new beliefs out loud. Work on these things. So hopefully that was helpful for you today. Love and appreciate you guys. Until next time, God bless.